Boop, boop. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Gamespace. Thank you all for coming on this very cold evening in July. Also nice to see some new faces. Welcome to the Swiss Game Hub if you haven't been before. Quick information about the hub. We're a co-working space. We do events, as you can tell, because you're currently at an event. The bathrooms are back here. We have a self-service bar here at the front. Yes, we're going to have a quick news bit, and then there's going to be a talk about how to pick a game idea. So here's the quick news bit. Okay, so we have a whole bunch of upcoming events at our hub. The next one is literally tomorrow. It's a Find Your Team event where if you're a game developer looking to work with other game developers, you can turn up and hopefully find some other game developers. You do need to register for this one. You can find the registration form on the website, swissgamehub.com. Apart from that, it's pretty straightforward. Then we have a games-related pub quiz next Thursday, a computer graphics meetup on the 25th, and always on the last Wednesday of the month, we have the game testing night, where you can bring your own games and try out other people's games. Then we have, in August, we have two special events also happening. Pro Helvetia, the Swiss Arts Council, about twice a year does these calls for applications where you can apply to get money for making games. And we're going to do a workshop on how to apply and get money. We'll be joined by three developers who did apply and did get money in the last round, and they'll be telling you what the application looked like, and we'll be answering any questions you have. So you can also get money. Then on August 9th, it's going to be the Gamespace Summer Party. That's basically going to be a grill party. It's going to be here. You can have some drinks. You're going to eat some sausages. It marks a bit more than 6 months since we moved in here, more like 8. And we also just we're going to have at 4 o'clock before, we're going to have like a town hall meeting. We're just going to talk about how the hub is going and so on, if people have feedback and so on. Just to be clear, this is not a scary thing. Everything is going great. We just want to hear your feedback. And then there'll be a party. And then Gamespace, which is this event, is always on the second Thursday of the month. And the next one is going to be on the 14th of August, and it's going to be about handling player feedback. So Steam reviews, stuff like that. How do you, A, emotionally process them, and B, get useful information out of them that is somehow actionable. Game news, some bad news and some good news. Microsoft laid off another like 9,000 game developers and said like, yeah, we don't need those guys anymore. We've got AI now, everything's going great. We'll see about that. And in much nicer news, Ground of Aces has just been released as of like 3 hours ago. So let me just show you. Hopefully. This is not Ground of Aces, I just need Steam. Ground of Aces, here. Well, we claimed there wasn't going to be any sound, but no, there's sound after all. Well, whatever. So yeah, it's a base building game where you build a World War II airbase. It's been in development for a few years by Blindfuchs Studios, which is another studio here in Zurich. And as I said, it's literally just come out. So you should play it and review it. As you can tell, if you're into World War II planes, this is really the game for you. It's all about like this. Hawker Hurricanes and Spitfires and various other aircraft of the time. So yeah, it's out in early access. Okay, that's like... That's like the major game news I'm aware of in terms of Swiss game news and international game news, aka layoffs. Did I miss any important Swiss game news that happened in the last month? Did something come out in the last month? Did anyone get laid off in the last month? Probably not. Okay, so we are going to proceed straight to the main talk for once. How to pick the right game idea. So this is going to be a bit of a talk where I say a whole bunch of things which in isolation may maybe sound kind of obvious, but I want to give you a framework to think about these things. And also in my experience, in the heat of game development, a lot of the time you forget that you know these obvious things. And so what this is really about, it's about before you start making a game, you should think about what game you want to make. And this turns out to be pretty important. I'll get into why in a moment. And it's based on an article by Thomas Guevara, who's another person here at the Hub, and sort of filtered through my own experiences. So it's also worth reading the article. It goes into a lot more detail in places. But I didn't want to just stand here and read you the article. I checked. At a normal speaking pace, it would take about 40 minutes, but I thought that might be a little bit boring, so I didn't want to do it. Okay, so why is picking a game idea important? Well, there's this idea that, well, you know, ideas are cheap. Everyone has lots of ideas. Yeah, that is true. And it's also true that if you're a good game developer, you can make a really good game out of even a kind of boring, mediocre idea, whatever. That's not the problem. The actual problem is that it's really hard to get people excited about a boring idea. The problem isn't in the making a game, the problem is in the marketing. And conveniently, for this talk, I recently did basically that. I basically did that to myself. And so it means I get to pick on my own mistakes rather than having to talk about someone else's game or make up a fictional one. So, enter Airships Lost Flotilla. Let's just go forward here. That's what the Steam page looks like. It's a steampunk auto shooter. It's kind of like Vampire Survivors, but in the sky. And you can see, you know, it's got some reviews. It's got like 190 reviews. It's very positive, but you also have to understand this game costs $5 and it took a year to develop. And then once you do the math, you realize that, this game did not make back its development costs in any way. So it's not a catastrophe, but it's not exactly a success item. So yeah, this is a game I did genuinely want to make. I started like prototyping it out of a spontaneous impulse and really enjoyed playing the early prototypes. As you can tell, I was, you know, able to develop it. I do think it's actually a really fun game. Like playtesting has generally been very positive. You can see the reviews are very positive, so that's fine. Once you get people to play it, they're enjoying it. But people just aren't very excited about it, you know. It's not like anyone was like, oh yeah, I really want to play this. This is the best thing. Yeah, wow, okay, so cool. It was just like, yeah, that's nice. Oh yeah, that's quite fun. And yeah, that's nice turns out to not be enough. And as a result, the marketing was kind of an uphill struggle of convincing people to try it out so they could see it's a good game. And as a result, yeah, sales weren't that great. And the big mistake here is that I just didn't check whether players would actually be excited about this. I was excited about it, but I didn't check if anyone else was. Oops. So yeah, this talk is going to be kind of about how to avoid picking a game idea where you then put in a lot of effort and the results are not what you wanted. As usual, just to be clear, we're really talking about commercial games here. Of course, if you don't care about other people playing your games or other people paying you money for your games, then please make whatever you like. You know, if your target audience is you, then if you want to make it and you want to play it, congratulations, you've satisfied your target audience. Easy. If your target audience is a paying customer base, then okay, yeah. You have to think about it a bit harder. Okay, so what criteria does a game idea have to fulfill that it's a viable idea? And I would say there's basically 3 criteria, and all 3 of those are important. You can't skip one, they're all equally important. It's a game that you want to make. Like, this is not to talk about how to talk yourself into making a game you don't care about through the power of marketing. I'm not going to tell you, oh yeah, you should do all of this market analysis and then you should make yourself do some trend-chasing thing that you hate just so you can make money. Don't do that to yourself. So yes, it's a game, you need to pick an idea which you are genuinely excited to make. Then you have to pick one that you actually can make. You have the skills, you have the money, you have the time, and so on. Again, this is kind of obvious, but a lot of games do just fail from being overambitious, right? From not controlling scope, from needing skills or resources or whatever, which you simply don't have access to. And yeah, then, as previously mentioned, other people want to actually play this game. Not other people, and specifically other people see the game, see the idea, see the screenshot, and they're like, oh, this is cool. If you have to get people to play the game before they want to play the game, that doesn't work, right? So, you have game ideas, you can generate game ideas, and then you want to validate those game ideas, you want to figure out if they're actually worthwhile. And the bad way of doing this is to pick an idea, kind of at random, make the entire game, and then like 3 years later realize that it was the wrong idea. This is not effective validation. What you want to do is you want to validate ideas on all 3 axes. Do you want to make it? Can you make it? And are people excited about it? You want to do this effectively, and you want to do it as fast as possible, so you don't waste your time. Effective and fast offers a little bit of a trade-off, right? If you just ask 1 people, do you think this is a cool idea? They say yes or no. That's very fast, but it's not a very effective validation strategy. If you briefly go, well, I guess I can program games, and you conclude from that you can totally make a giant MMO that was also fast, it also wasn't very effective. So, yeah. So the rest of this talk is kind of about having a process where you come up with ideas. You have validation decision points, or like gates, where you decide for each idea, does it actually satisfy these requirements? So you can get rid of, discard ideas that aren't going to work as early as possible. The sooner you do this, the less it hurts. It still does hurt, but it hurts a lot more when you've put in 2 years and you go like, yeah, actually, that was a bad idea. Okay, so here's the steps. So this is now really where we're going to through what Thomas wrote, just in the shorter version. I'm going to talk about each of these steps in a moment. I'm just leaving up the slide so you can look at it. Okay, first step, find your niche. So the point is you want to make a game which you are good at making, which you have an interest in making, which means, I shouldn't make a racing game. I don't care about racing games at all. I'm sorry, I'm just very bored of them, so I shouldn't make one. Because I don't know what a good racing game looks like. I have no thoughts and feelings about how to make racing games better. I can't tell you which my favorite racing game is because I have none. So pick a game, pick a set of mechanics which you care about, where you have opinions about, ideally strong opinions, and maybe you want to fix something. Maybe like, well, all of these racing games always have this problem or that problem, and I know how to fix it. Or like, I want to make a game like this, but it should be like that, or whatever. And if you know the vocabulary of that genre, if you know the history of that genre, if you are talking to people who play this genre, if you are in this community, then you probably have some idea of what you're doing. Ideally, I'm just saying, pick something where you have some idea of what kind of game you're even making. And then also think about what other interests you have that are outside of, specific game genres. Maybe you're really into making cheese. Maybe, like certain people, you're really into horses or whatever. So if there's a specific interest you have, where there is a community of people that finds it interesting, that's something you can leverage. And so what you can do here is you can really write down a list of games you think are cool, that you love, that you've played a lot, whatever, a list of mechanics you think are cool, a list of other things you think are interesting, and so on. And hopefully just by doing that, by starting from this starting point, you're gonna make a game that you care about. Then you want to pick an idea. And you want this idea to be, specific. You want to have a concrete, not just like, oh, I'm going to make an RPG or I'm going to make a racing game, but I'm going to make this kind of game with that kind of thing or whatever. And yeah, again, already you want to make sure that you feel like you can make it. And your idea should have a clear USP. So that's marketing speak for unique selling point. I'm going to expand on this a little bit. I spend quite a lot of time just looking at all new releases on Steam. I'm actually one of those weirdos who generally has a pretty good idea of all the games that come out on Steam because I'm curious about it. And almost all games that come out on Steam just get zero attention, get basically zero sales, and just vanish. Even quite nice ones, even ones where you can see that people have put in effort. And the big thing I see there again and again is it doesn't have a unique selling point. It's like, why would I play your game? Oh, it's a Metroidvania. Well, did you know that there are at least 2 Metroidvania games already in existence that are quite popular, like, the Metroid one and the Castlevania one. So there's at least 2 games that you're going to have to compete against. You are competing against decades of games in this genre, and you have to make an active, immediately visible case for why people should play your game instead of buying some other game and playing that instead, or just continuing to play one of the games already in their Steam library. You're competing against all of those, and so you need to have a visible and clear unique selling point. And not one where, oh, that actually there's this really cool thing somewhere deep hidden inside the game. People are going to see that. And yeah, and you should have a target audience. Now, target audience, this is one of those things where, at least to me, I still sort of feel like, oh, you have to say like what gender and age group or something. This is obviously rubbish. This doesn't matter. What matters in terms of target audience is what games. Imagine a person who's going to play your game. What other games are they playing? What other games did they enjoy? What for fans of this and this and this game is also your game. That's what you want to think about, because that's going to define a lot of your marketing strategy. And if you can come up with a target audience, because you have no idea who would even want to play this game, then again, it's probably kind of a bad sign. And you can spend a bit of time picking ideas or coming up with ideas. You can also mass generate those. You can spend a week or 2 on doing that. That's good. Don't just pick the first one and run with it. And yeah, you can genuinely kind of generate these. Common ways that, ideas occur are you just combine 2 things that you like, like peanut butter and jam or whatever. Or you really enjoy a game, but there's one aspect of it, one mechanic of it, which you think is cool, but you wish it was way more detailed. And then you make a game which really zooms in on that bit. Like my previous game, Airships Conquer the Skies, is a real-time strategy game that really, really zoomed in on unit design. So you've got some strategy games where you can kind of design your units a bit, and in my game, that's just super duper complicated and involved. Or sometimes there's a game which you kind of love, hate. You're like, oh, it's great, but it also has this huge problem, and you're like, yeah, I can fix it. All of these are perfectly good motivations. Okay, once you have, ideally you have like a stable of ideas. You've got like a dozen ideas and all of these you think like, yeah, that sounds kind of cool. I could make that, it would be fun. I think people want to play this. Then you pick like the one you like the most or whatever, and you design and you validate the game loop. So you figure out what's the core game experience, what do you actually do second to second in the game, what is the minimal set of things that you need in a game. So you do game design, that thing. And you do some validation on this potentially. You can validate whether you can pull off the visuals you want by doing a mock-up. You can also check whether people like the visuals, whether people understand the visuals by making a mock-up and then showing it to people and see how they react. And obviously you can make a prototype, a paper prototype or a computer one, where you validate that the gameplay actually works, that it's actually fun. And there you also now really specifically want to make a list of concrete games whose players would also like your game. And you also make a list of content creators, so YouTubers, streamers, whatever, again, who you think will like it. You can get that second list from the first one because you just look for who's played those games, and then now you also have your list of content creators. And yeah, that,
Is the 1 to 2 months, is that the time that you or Thomas spend on one idea and validating that? Or is it like until you have an idea that's worked on all ideas?
So the question was whether these 1 to 2 months, if that's for all ideas or for one idea. That's just for one idea. Like, you know, making a prototype, validating a prototype does take time. I mean, it's cool if you can do it in a week. I'm not saying don't do it in a week, but it's fine if it takes you 2 months, you know. Again, we're assuming that, you know, making an entire game is going to take you like 3 years or something. So you'd rather spend a month designing a game, making a prototype, and realizing it's not fun in the slightest, and picking a new idea immediately afterwards. And then you have a decision point. And this is also the decision point of, can you make it? Have you validated that you can pull off the art style, that you actually know how to program this game? Does it have the clear, unique selling point? Is it, as I said, is it feasible? Is it fun? Do you have that list of content creators? Do you think anyone will care? And again, you have to be kind of serious about this, you know. Yes, if you decide that the game fails this decision point, you've sort of lost a month or 2 of work, but it's a lot better than losing 3 years. So, and with prototyping, I've done a lot of prototyping. At some point, we might do a whole talk on it. But here's like 3 problems which I've seen a lot cropping up in prototypes. Apart from, well, it's just obviously not fun. One is that the core of the game isn't fun. Like, just the thing you do second to second, minute to minute isn't actually fun. And there's this big temptation to just keep layering systems on top of this. It's like, yeah, you know, the thing that you actually do is kind of boring, but it's okay because we're going to keep giving you unlocks and decisions and little bits of story and cool animations and all of this stuff to paper over the fact that the actual core gameplay is boring. So you have to watch out for that. And the kind of flip side is, yeah, the core is really fun, but you have literally no idea what level 2 and level 3 would look like, you know. These ideas exist. They're really cool ideas for like 5-minute game experiences, but they cannot be stretched into a commercial game and shouldn't be stretched into a commercial game. And another insidious one is you're having fun, but you're having fun making the game. You're not actually having fun playing the game. Again, if you're a hobbyist, then that's great, you're having fun. If even you don't think your own game is actually fun to play, and you'd rather be programming it or drawing out or whatever than playing it, that's kind of a bad sign. Okay, so at this point, let's assume, so if you fail, then you go back to, you know, picking another idea, but let's say passes this decision point, then you develop a demo. So maybe you're working on the prototype. Ideally, you throw away your prototype and start with a cleaner design. You get the core game loop working as quickly as possible. Like, if you can get the core game loop working in a day or in a week or something, that's great. You know, that should be fast. And you put in enough content to show people what the game is about. You don't have to go completely overboard. And you just keep on developing it and testing it and adding new people to the group who's testing it. And you keep on iterating on that demo and adding things and improving it until it's actually really fun. One interesting thing is it can be kind of hard to convince content creators to like review a game or look at the game, especially it's still in development. It's surprisingly cheap and easy to pay them to privately review your game. if you were like, oh yeah, this content creator, that's exactly the kind of person who plays the kind of game I'm making, and I really care about what they think of it, you can say like, yeah, I'll pay you $100 or 100 or whatever, you can negotiate, to just make a private video. So it's not gonna go up on their channel or whatever. They're just gonna spend an hour, half an hour playing your game and telling you what they feel about it. And this gives you all of the feedback of watching a proper video later, but it gives it to you at a much more useful time, namely when you're still developing it, not afterwards. And you're just straight up paying this person. And you get their honest feedback, and they don't have to worry about where that's going to fit into their schedule or anything like that. So that's surprisingly doable. And really, at least according to kind of Thomas's plan, this is actually where you put the majority of your work time. Getting from an idea that you validated is going to work to a demo where really the mechanics are solid, the gameplay is solid. It maybe doesn't have quite as much content as a full game should, but in a sense, by demo we mean complete game that's still kind of short. And that will take you a few months, but it's nice if you can keep it under a year. Then you release the demo. You release it on either Steam or you release it on itch if you want a kind of a smaller, more controlled audience. And you do the release things. You do a gameplay trailer, you do a press kit, and you contact content creators about your demo. And what you do is you, at this point, you should have a nice long list of people who are going to hopefully play your game. And you start out with the small ones. You don't start out with like the one with 10 million subscribers. You start out with like little small fry, and you contact them and you see how they respond. And if they don't respond, you can, or they respond badly, then you can also think about modifying your approach. So by the time you're contacting the really important ones, you've hopefully got your kind of pitch down and they will actually react. And hopefully, you know, on the basis of having already talked to some of these creators, they will actually care about your game and play it and get eyeballs on your demo. Of course, okay, if you put it on itch, you're probably just doing like a small test release. You don't necessarily want to contact all of these creators. If you're doing it on Steam, the whole point of the demo is to get those delicious wish lists, right? So you're contacting these creators so you can pump up those wish lists. And here's your final decision point. Because yeah, you've now spent quite a few months. We're still going to spend another quite a few months on this. Do you actually have traction? Did anyone reply to your emails? Did anyone play the game? What's the feedback from players? Does anyone care? That's the big question here. It's absolutely fine if some people hate your game, as long as other people love it. In fact, it's much better. Again, a game where everyone's like, oh, that's nice, isn't gonna sell. A game where 90% of people are like, what is this? Is this even that? Did your dog draw this? And 10% are like, this is amazing, this is what I've been waiting for. That game is gonna do well, because 10% of like everyone who plays games is still quite a lot of people, it turns out. So yeah, so this is your final decision point, and there you really do need to be honest with yourself again. Is this actually gonna, does this have traction? Do people care about this? And if they don't, then maybe just finish it off. So you've finished making the game, but put in like another month of work. Say, okay, it's done now. So you've gained some experience, you learn from it, and you walk away. You don't put in a huge amount of work. I'm not saying at this point literally throw it away because, okay, you just spent half a year something on this, but don't go all in, except that, yeah, it's not gonna be a huge financial success, which is okay. Hopefully you've learned something. Well, assuming you do really have that traction, you finish the game. You add more content, you add more depth, you obviously address the feedback that you got from these creators who are playing your game, you address the feedback that you get from your players. You come to the next Gamespace, so I can tell you about how to process player feedback in a useful way. If you're going to make major changes to the way the game works, consider doing a private beta, so you get some fans of your game and some players and so on to see how that actually plays out. You don't want to accidentally make the magic smoke that made people excited about your game go away because you felt like you were fixing it. And then, yeah, you do probably want to translate it. I translated, to go back to my failures, I translated Egypt's Lost Flotilla into like 11 languages. Most of these were, unfortunately, kind of pointless translations and very expensive ones. I would now say, translate your game to simplified Chinese. You can also translate it to other languages, but really just translate it to simplified Chinese. If you want to, you can also do German or something, or Russian, but don't bother with anything else. I'm sorry, but it's true. So yeah, you finish it, and you don't spend a huge amount of time on this. You spend less time on this than on the demo. You spend a few more months. You ideally get the whole process down in just a year's time, and then you release it. You, again, update your Steam page, do the trailer, do the press kit, contact these content creators again. If you've added enough cool stuff and they liked it, they will go, oh, cool, yeah, now I can do another video. Hey, look, guys, now this game has come out, which is great. You get 2 beats from these content creators that will make people actually buy your game. And hopefully you have accumulated a nice big amount of wish lists and people will buy your game. And congratulations, you have made a game. It has been commercially successful. Or at least, you know, more commercially successful than it would have been if you just picked a random idea and went with it. And then you think about what you did, and you hopefully learn something from it, and you do it again, and you stay within a reasonable scope. You don't go, oh, yeah, I made a game in 1 year. Now I can finally make this huge MMO that I just don't make an MMO, is my point. Yeah, you know, do it again, but don't go wild on the scope, you know. Think about what you want to do next. Go back, pick another one of those ideas from that list and just go through the process again. And that's it. That's the process that I would suggest you use. So this is basically the process that created Bertato for Thomas. Bertato did pretty well, so you know that's at least one data point that this process works. It's also based on a lot of other people's experience. It's of course not a silver bullet. You know, most games fail. Probably most games don't do this process fail, but at least the probability is probably higher that it succeeds. Okay, now we have time for questions. Here is a question. We've got microphones, so please always wait for the microphone to turn up before you ask questions. Okay, ideally turn on the microphone.
Hello, test. So I think there's like big decision point is on the demo release, right?
Yeah.
And you said you should look for the feedback and if some people love it, but that's not like, do you have a concrete number that you look for? Or like, what is there a more concrete way to look at this? To be like, okay, this is actually, let's go into that and actually make the game, or nah, this is not enough, let's cut it?
I think it's really hard to pick a concrete number because it keeps on, these things keep shifting so much that, I mean, I don't even know anymore, like, what would it look like for something to go viral or whatever, but I would say, like, if you made your list of creators, and especially made your like list of favorite creators, the ones where you really like, oh, these gals should like this game, if at least some of them played it and liked it, that's probably a good thing. If they all hated it, then okay, you certainly learned something. And if none of them cared, that's probably a bad sign. If you're very specific, hey, here's these 10 people, and I've watched the videos and I made the game kind of for them, if they don't care, that's kind of a don't. I mean, if that's the case, but you get like 500 positive reviews and your players are like begging you to finish the game, then that's good too, you know. But it's pretty hard to, getting reviews on demos especially is kind of like pulling teeth. So do not expect to get many reviews on your demo. It's very normal that no one reviews those things.
So I wanted to clarify on those three criteria on the very beginning for picking the game. The second criteria is this: you want to be making or you want to have made.
You mean the first one? Yeah. Okay. So the question is it one that you want to be making or one that you want to have made? That's an interesting and painful point. It's similar with a lot of creative works. Did you want to write a book or did you want to be an author? And the answer is kind of that you want to be making. If you feel like, yeah, this would be a cool game, but I would absolutely hate making it, then you don't do that to yourself, you know.
But money.
About money, yeah, but as I said, there's no point in torturing yourself. I mean, you can just do that at a normal job, you know, just get a normal job. So yeah, I think any game development plan that includes I'm just going to have to suffer through this as a major component is probably a bad plan. Yeah, there's always going to be suffering, kind of pretty much automatically. You're going to have to deal with stuff, and there's going to be deadlines and unexpected problems and so on. But even if your best case scenario for how to develop it already includes a large amount of suffering, then yeah, don't.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Do you have any opinions on or experience with devlogs for marketing? Because I've seen a couple developers that kind of just started from zero on YouTube and then got their game very popular by just sharing the development process.
I think that can work really well for Airships Conquer the Skies, my older game. It really got traction initially with written devlogs. This was back in the olden days where there were web logs, you know, and so on. And I could definitely tell that people were very interested in reading what I had written about it. So yeah, I think it can really work. It can really work to build an audience like this. Doing it with video is a huge amount of effort. Like writing like depends on, you know, what you find hard, what you find easy, but writing like a blog post once a week, it's okay, you know, you spend like, especially if you're used to it and not stressed about it, you can dash the thing out in like an hour or two. You want to do a video once a week? Well, that's going to take up one day of that week. So yes, but you're going to be in it for the long haul. You know, you're going to have to make quite a lot of videos. But yeah, I think it can definitely work. And it's something you can do without having to depend too much on outside factors. You can just start posting your devlog and accumulate an audience like that without having to worry too much about essentially gatekeepers.
Yeah, you actually touched on it now, but it's actually marketing, guys. You didn't really cover it too much, but if your demo is successful, it's a lot about marketing. And marketing should be also a part of your development time during the demo. And I'm not meaning like that you're a big marketeer, but making good screenshots, good trailer video that catches the attention can be a big success. And the idea of making blogs is a good idea. Video blogs, sure. But then now you're building an audience for your YouTube channel as well. So that you're also marketing. This is all marketing spend. Honestly, in my opinion, if you're making anything, spend at least 25, maybe half the time on marketing?
Yes, absolutely. Because marketing, well, that kind of marketing isn't the core of this talk. It got covered in like the single line here where it says Steam, itch page, press kit, gameplay player. So please insert, actually do proper marketing for what I wrote there. Yes, do all of these things, make nice screenshots. I would also like to point out that this is literally is a marketing talk because all of this stuff is actually marketing in the broader sense. Marketing is actually also the process of figuring out what to make and why to make it. We tend to reduce it down to the sort of advertising and sales aspect almost. And actually marketing is very much about market analysis and market positioning, which is exactly what we're doing here in those early stages. So yeah, this is secretly a marketing talk.
Yes. No, but it's really true. Like getting an audience is what you're interested in. So yes, you can just dump ideas on itch.io, maybe somebody plays it, but it's more interesting to indeed get any audience, finding people that like your game, maybe using your old community, using somebody else's community, stealing their community. Anything goes. Been there, done that.
Yes. I think the man in the white shirt was first.
Thank you. Actually, I have absolutely no experience in this industry because I just came here in Switzerland. So actually, I want to do game production. So I have no experience in coding, in Unity, in Unreal. I only have experience in managing. So should I look for a team or should I study by myself how to make the game?
Well, I think the thing here in Switzerland is that the teams tend to be pretty small. So I think it's pretty rare that you have a team that's big enough to need someone who's purely doing production. So I would encourage you to kind of pick whatever other skill that you are most interested in and also do that, because then if you can do production and other thing, that will, I think, increase your attractiveness in the team a lot.
I mean, some kind of people who wanna also work about their portfolio. I mean, for me, I would love to work to make some game for portfolio. Yeah, for sure.
Let's talk about this after the talk. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
No problem.
Talking about target audience, who do you think is the target audience of this? Is it the individuals, smaller teams, and how do you think it would adapt to bigger teams?
I think it's pretty universal. In the end, I think one of the things that small teams and individuals do to themselves is that they feel like to be professional, they have to imitate the very slow and very calcified processes of big gaming companies, where we produce big game development documents and we have these structures and so on and so on. And the big thing is that we can be more agile. We can just try some stuff out and see, if it sticks to the wall or not. Whereas we see again and again, big AAA studios making games driven by some calculus or someone's ego that, fail completely because no one cares. And we get that at a small scale too, but you'd think they'd be more professional about it, but they're kind of not.
I mean, imagine that bigger companies probably also have a bigger network to also validate this in a different way. I mean, some of these points sounds also like you're doing all of the work probably by yourself, right? So.
Yeah, certainly it applies to individuals and smaller teams. I would say what the important thing here also is with the people want to make it, other people want to play it, is you need to go outside your network. You need to go outside people who care about you as a person, who are somehow motivated to tell you nice things. You actually really want to reach gamers, just completely normal gamers, and give them no reason to be nice to you, and see if these people are still excited about your game idea, because they have no reason to be nice. If they're excited, then that's a good sign. The problem with doing things with your fan base is a little bit that they already like you, and they will just say, yeah, that's great, we like you. If you show your friends, even if you show things here in your community, you don't want to be mean. Gamers can be very mean, which in this case can be kind of an advantage. They will tell you, this is a stupid idea, and you're like, oh.
And I also imagine that this works as a good first step, but also as a way to build a community, right? Imagine the moment in which you manage to build a community, then it also is probably simpler to make another game afterwards.
Yes, of course, it does help to have a community to build up on. It's just, as I said, there are some failure modes in terms of that your community likes you, and hence isn't fully objective about these things anymore. But of course, it's good if your community likes your game idea, Okay. Any last questions? Otherwise, we will conclude the formal part of the evening. Feel free to stick around. Feel free to ask me more questions that pop into your head, or discuss things or whatever. And yeah, thank you all very much for coming.